Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It is week 8 in the college football season, and it's time to talk about the primetime games, the wagers we like, the leans, and everything in between. Also, recap a little bit of what happened last week in college football. Always very eventful, always an ever-changing landscape, that's for sure. And of course, to break it all down with me is the one, the only, Scott Bogman from Betting Pros. What is up, Boggs? How are you doing tonight?
You want me to lament about the one I missed last week? 6-4 last week.
6-4.
I was 2 extra points missed away from being 7-3 because I had the over on the Georgia game at 44.5, and it ended 30-13 with 2 missed extra points. So that is, that's what happens in college football, man. It's college kids. They're all over the place. So, but look, this is what we learned. Georgia is by far and away the best team in the country. I don't think it's even close. I don't think you could call it close. The only reason they let Kentucky score 13 is because they let in a touchdown on that last drive with no time left in the on the clock after a penalty and all that stuff. So Georgia was absolutely dominant. Did you get to see any of that one?
I got a little bit of it. I actually did see a little bit of it. I saw enough of Iowa also, which is, we talked about it being a trap game. They went from 2 to 11. So that happened. And it was so obvious that it was going to happen, and it just felt like it was just easy money. And at the same time, you're looking at it and you go, still, again, really Iowa, but you know what? I guess we should know better. We talked about it, so I guess we did know better, but at the same time, this is the difference between, I think, those big-time programs and the programs that are always kind of knocking at the door.
I had Iowa. I wrote them up to win this game, but I should have known better because Purdue does. They'll beat. I think they.
Then I guess I was the one who was right because I told you this is like a letdown to me.
The third time that Iowa has beat the number 2 ranked team or better in the country in the last, I think, 6 seasons or something like that. It's just insane. But Georgia, so The Athletic did a straw poll of Heisman voters, and Jordan Davis, their defensive tackle, is like 4th in Heisman voting right now. So, and because we just don't have a clear-cut Heisman winner at this point.
No, there hasn't been a transcendent quarterback. There hasn't.
Can you guess the top 3? Do you think?
Gosh, I don't even know at this point. I feel like
so. Your boy Bryce Young would be 3rd on that.
Oh, see, then and right off the bat, it's wrong. I was gonna say they probably put Bryce Young in that conversation, but they shouldn't because that's ridiculous. I don't think there was a quarterback in that conversation this year.
Matt Corral is number 1 right now. But fine. He's hurt because he just had 30 carries against Tennessee, and they threw a bunch of stuff on the field. I'm sure you saw that. And then Kenneth Walker, the running back from Michigan State, is 2nd. So that's kind of where it stands right now. So it's going to be real interesting come Heisman time. We have no separation at this point, so we're going to have someone separate themselves. I didn't put that on the list, but the Heisman is really, really up in the air. Pitt could be for real. They held Virginia Tech to 7 points in a 28-7 win. That was very interesting. They're ranked 23rd right now. They got a big matchup against Clemson this week, so I think we're going to find out a lot about them in that game. Bama rebounded like we thought they would, 49-9, and
stomp a mud hole, as we said.
Good luck with Bama for the rest of the year. If you're in their way, they are looking for massive beatdown. So that we'll be talking about them in a little bit. And I did the claps. Same old Texas. Same old Texas. I told you this was Sark's big chance to show me that he's different from the other coaches. And they lost again on another second half comeback, not making the correct adjustments. So, same old Texas. Here we are.
I got to ask you this, too. Last year's draft class was very quarterback heavy, obviously, and a good draft class overall. A little light on the defensive side. This year, how's that draft class stocking up for you? Because it feels a little light right now as you're watching these games.
It's incomplete, man. Like that.
Yeah, okay. That's a good
That's how I would say it is right now, because Sam Howell and Spencer Rattler were 1 and 2, and Rattler is completely gone. I still think Howell can be 1. I think he can be 1. Matt Corral has obviously pushed himself up into the conversation. Your boy Desmond Ridder has made, because I was looking at, I think PFFs, they always, I love PFF, and I love, they do the draft coverage. They do like a draft guide before the season starts, and they didn't have Ridder in the quarterbacks in there. So he has made a huge step up, and they're going to be in the playoff as long as they don't drop one completely
they're number
unexpected.
2 right now. They're in the driver's seat right now. You just got to take care of your own business here.
First G5 in there. So they all they got to do is beat who's in front of them. And
Georgia will smoke them, I believe.
They might get beat by 40 or 50 in the playoff, but they'll get there. So I think so. Desmond Ridder has a real chance to make himself a name. I like Dylan Gabriel, and he broke his collarbone, right? So it's just very, very unsettled right now, especially since Rattler was going to be the one, and now he's not even, Malik Willis, a lot of people like, but he's been inaccurate. Carson Strong,
I feel like people are starting to talk themselves into guys, Bogman, and that's always a bad thing. That is the worst thing, is like, we got to talk ourselves into, because we need a quarterback in this draft class, or 2 or 3, or we need this. You know what? If it's not there, it's not there. Draft what's on the board. A
lot of these guys on this list got Rattler and Emory Jones just have been replaced on their own team.
Right.
JT Daniels isn't even playing. Right. I'm just looking through this draft guide. It's not. There are good quarterbacks, but they still need to separate themselves because look, whether they're good or not, they're going to get drafted. Quarterbacks are going to go in the first round. 4 are probably going to go in the first round. That's just kind of the average of what it's been recently. So they're not going to get skipped because they aren't that good. Teams are desperate. So they'll, like you said, teams will talk themselves into quarterbacks too. So there's a lot of time for these teams to, put it together and make a run here. So we'll see.
All right, let's turn the page from week 7 and start looking at week 8, if you can believe it already. Let's talk about the likes Bogman has this week. We'll start with Tulane at SMU. SMU ranked 21st in the nation. They are favored by 13.5 in this contest. 70.5 is the number. This is the Thursday night game. So, Boggs, take me through SMU here.
Look, Tulane is definitely better than their 1-5 record, right? They've only beat an FCS school in Morgan State, but their schedule has been brutal. They played Oklahoma week 1, and that was supposed to be at home, and it ended up on the road. Ole Miss, UAB, ECU might have been their easiest game, and that was their biggest loss, and Houston. And it just gets worse with a ranked SMU team on the road here. SMU is top 10 in scoring offense, 14th in passing. Tulane is bad against the pass, 115th in the nation. Obviously, that hard schedule hasn't done them any favors with that, but 277.2 yards per game. SMU quarterback Tanner Mordecai is a little bit questionable in this game, but he's expected to play. I got SMU in an absolute walk here. I like Tulane. I like Michael Pratt. I like what they've been doing there, but SMU is just another brutal beat for them in this awful 2021 schedule for Tulane. So I got SMU just in a smackdown.
All right, Michigan is 6-0. They are favored by 23.5 at home against Northwestern. 51 is the number. Can Michigan cover this 23.5, though? That is a big spot.
It is, and I hate trusting Michigan. You know that. I hate
especially because the way they grind and grind and grind. That's a lot of points if you're a grinding team in terms of clock.
Yeah, exactly. But they're coming off a bye week, so they're going to be fresh, and they have 2 weeks to prep for Northwestern. And look, we've seen Northwestern bow up and break up a winning streak, beat some of the best teams in the country. They're not that team this year. That's just not going to happen. Michigan's dominant on both sides of the ball. They're 14th in scoring. They're 9th in scoring defense. Northwestern's gotten hammered by Michigan State and Nebraska, and I think Michigan is better than both of those teams. I think this is a smash spot for Michigan. Public agrees. It's way on Michigan on the money side and way on the over in this game. I think that's an over I would play too, because I think Michigan gets most of it against Northwestern. They're just not a team that they normally are. Like I said, every once in a while we'll see them bow up, but I don't think they're that team this year. So they're not that guy, bud. So give me Michigan.
Well, 23.5 might sound like a big number until you get to the Oklahoma game. 38.5. Third-ranked Oklahoma is favored against Kansas. The over-under is 66.5 in this game. And Boggs, I know Kalen Williams has played very well, but 38.5, that is a huge, huge number. Do you think they can just steamroll here, and we're talking about like a 50. I mean, they got to put up a 50 spot here or something close to it, right?
Right, which has been a problem with Spencer Rattler. Right. But now that Caleb Williams is the quarterback, they've hit a different gear on offense. Caleb Williams took over in the middle of that Texas game. He has a 67.8 completion percentage on the year, 6 touchdowns to 0 picks, 3 rushing touchdowns. He's averaging 12 yards a carry, Joe. Like, the dude is unbelievable right now. Kansas has looked improved, right? They've looked a little bit better. But I just can't deal with them. Look, in the 3 Power 5 games that they have played, their average loss is by 38 points. So this 39 points, this 38 and a half is under that. I think this is like a 70-7 type of a game. Okay. Rattler might see the field in this game, so it wouldn't be shocking at all. So I think OU just beats the piss out of Kansas.
Well, as long as he could take enough time out of his schedule sitting on the bench filling out transfer forms, we'll see.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, he had today, it was news that he removed Oklahoma off of his Twitter follows or something, or Instagram follows or
that's
something.
It's always a big deal. Whenever you remove something from your social media, the earth moves. It's unbelievable. God, it's my favorite thing.
Who is paying attention to that is what I want.
Everyone. I wish they weren't.
We're too old.
We are too old. I mean, please, don't even get me started. LSU at 12th ranked Ole Miss. Ole Miss 9-point favorites in this one. 76.5 is the number here. We see LSU kind of imploding on itself. We got the news that Ed Orgeron's going to be leaving town
after a win.
After a win. Well, leaving a high note. You got a Costanza thing sometimes, Boggs. But, I mean, look, I don't know how this is all going. I don't know if any emotion gets wrapped into this at all, or if he told the players beforehand and that was the inspiration for that win. I don't know. Sure. I also don't know how long that lasts against a team that's ranked.
Right. I mean, did you hear the stuff about?
Yeah, I heard this stuff.
Yeah, the gas station. Interesting. Yeah, great, classy move. And after your team has already been investigating for a lot of improper stuff happening under your watch to go and do that type of stuff. So, but look, I think if we were only talking about the spread here, this one would definitely be in a lean, because I think the spread of 9 is in Ole Miss's favor is about perfect. Ole Miss is 5-1, but in SEC play, they have been beat by Bama and played close games against Arkansas. They won by that failed 2-point conversion, and the final against Tennessee was closer than the game, but they still only won that one by 5 points. They were only a point favor, so they did beat the spread there, but they played real close. The biggest factor in this game, in my opinion, is Matt Corral is a big question mark to play. Like I said before, at those 30 carries against Tennessee, he got pounded into the ground. Lane Kiffin said, well, he doesn't feel good. Our buddy John Lobb on the ITL CFF show went off on Lane Kiffin. How do you run this kid 30 times into the teeth of the defense?
I can hear John Lobb's voice in my head saying this.
His face, his redness, his redness of face was only like a 6 this week, when it was a 9 a couple weeks ago, but that was also about Lane Kiffin. So, look, that's the biggest thing here for me. LSU is all over the damn place. They lose to Auburn, they get smoked by Kentucky, and then they beat Florida, right? So I'm keeping this one in my likes because I love the under in this game. It's 76.5. I don't know why people are betting on the over here, but Matt Corral is not 100%, and the way that LSU beat Florida last week was by running the ball 43 times and only throwing it 24 times. So if that is the game script again, which it should be if they want to win a game, keep the ball out of the Ole Miss offense's hands and keep that defense on the field and grind them and make them tired for the fourth quarter so you can rip big chunk runs off. That's the way you win this game if you're LSU. So I think that all trends towards the under. So I kept this in my likes because I like the under, not either team against the spread here.
Yeah, the under from everything you're describing seems like the way to go. I need to see a little bit more Matt Corral before I want to anoint him as the best quarterback in this class.
That's understandable.
I'm not there yet. And the one game that I watched him the most was Alabama, and that was the last game one should be judging him on.
Yeah.
So so I'm not going. Although that's also the one game where you're going to say, well, this is most like what the NFL is going to be.
Sure.
So on that note, We'll leave it for another time. We'll come back to it.
I don't know if he has NFL caliber wide receivers.
That is absolutely fair point, without a doubt. But we shall see. Clemson at 23rd ranked Pitt. Pitt is 3-point favorites in this one, 48. So I guess the question is the number more than anything here, the 48. How do you feel about this one, Box?
Yeah, this is another game where I don't like the against the spread number at all. I like the under. Clemson has only played to this low 48 total twice this season. And the most points they've given up is 27 to NC State on September 25th. So I won't touch the spread here. We've been waiting for Clemson to turn the offense on the whole season. They haven't been able to do it, but they are the way better team on paper. Pitt is the scrappy team that plays Clemson hard, whether they're ranked or not. Like I was talking about this on CFB Winning Edge. When was the last time we saw these two teams play and Pitt was the ranked one and Clemson wasn't, right? It's been a while since that happened. So I think I'm going to avoid the line and play the under here because Pitt's defense, like we just talked about, they just held Virginia Tech to 7 points in Blacksburg. So I think this game definitely trends towards this under of this low total of 48. So I'm going to leave it in my likes for the number again and go under that 48. It's a low number to go under, but Clemson is better on defense and they're bad on offense. So I think they'll hold Pitt and also not score. So this looks like a 17-14 game to me, something like that.
All right, Tennessee at 4th-ranked Alabama. It feels weird to say 4th-ranked Alabama, but I'm saying it anyway. 25 is the number that Alabama is favored by. The over-under is 67.5. Hendon Hooker, one of the best names out there right now. I mean, that is definitely a Tennessee name I think that you would like to read in a lap. Hendon Hooker, taking over under center.
He's the he is the transfer from Va Tech, and it's funny. I just started playing on my Twitch with the Welsh. We have a in this league Twitch, and we were setting up a franchise, and I was looking at people like to get like the real college draft class and all that stuff because you can do that in Madden as well, and there are classes getting banned because people try to put Hendon Hooker in, and it's a curse word, hooker, So I thought that was hilarious. It doesn't mean anything to us here. It's just a goofy thing I wanted to say. But look, Tennessee had a different gear when good old Hendon Hooker took over at quarterback. And since that loss to Florida where he after he started, they've averaged 44.3 points per game. The problem is that he's hurt. He's been limited in practices. So even if he does suit up and go out there, he's less than 100%. And they're playing Bama, who's already had their hiccup. They lost to Texas A&M. We talked about it earlier. They just beat down Mississippi State 49-9.
They're not going to lose to two unranked teams in the same year. That's not going to happen. Nope. But is the 25 in danger at all?
I don't think it is. They've won this game 14 times in a row. Joe, against Tennessee, and won by 25 or more 3 of the last 5 years. This, Bama knows they got to be flawless from this point moving forward to make the tournament. So that also means getting, back up to that number 2 spot, hopefully for them, and just beating teams into the ground. So I think that 25 number is safe, and I'll be taking Bama and laying the points.
All right, let's get to the last of the likes, which is 5th-ranked Ohio State, favored by 21 points at Indiana. The number is 60.5. Ohio State in a romp here.
Yeah, look, Indiana's had too many problems scoring. And since Ohio State's lost to Oregon, they've won every game by at least 21 points. Indiana has had a brutal schedule. They opened up against Iowa. They played Cincinnati week 3. In the last 2 weeks, they've been Penn State and Michigan State. So, that's 5 ranked opponents that they played with Ohio State coming this week. Indiana is for sure underrated. And, but at this moment, they have quarterback issues too, with Penix being questionable. Maybe he'll play. But they're 107th in scoring in the country. Ohio State is asserting dominance right now. Another team that knows that they have very little leeway after their loss to Oregon early in the season. Right. So I just don't think Indiana is going to be able to keep up with them regardless of who is at quarterback. So I just think Ohio State wins this one in a beatdown.
All right, let's get over to the leans here. First one is Illinois at 7th ranked Penn State. Penn State 24-point favorites in this one. The number's 46.5. Penn State's always a little up and down. Can they muster enough here offensively to separate, though, for this 24?
That's the question. Penn State is definitely the better team in this game.
Right.
The only win Illinois has was against Charlotte. Illinois is having problems moving the ball. They're 120th in scoring. Penn State is 4th in scoring defense. So this should be a lopsided game in favor of the Nittany Lions. But I have it in my leans instead of likes because QB Sean Clifford for Penn State is highly questionable with an undisclosed injury. And the backup Taquan Roberson was brutal in the Iowa game. He was 7 for 21, 34 yards and 2 picks when he came in. Granted, that was, they weren't expecting him to play, and it's against one of the best teams in the best defenses in the country. I understand that. Illinois is not. But they also have freshman Christian Velu working with the first team in practice along with Roberson. But the old saying goes, if you have 2 QBs, Joe, you don't have one. So I'm not going to depend on this over. And I'm not, because I don't know how much Penn State is going to score, and I'm not going to take them minus the 24 because that line is too big if Sean Clifford's not in this game. If we get word that Sean Clifford is playing, I'm smashing Penn State minus the points, and I'm smashing the over because it's not like he's going to be smashed a bunch of times by this Illinois defense. Right. He's not really in danger of re-aggravating stuff if they let him go, in my opinion. So now they could yank him if they're up big and let Roberson play and make some mistakes. So that's dicey too. So I think just for the most part, I'm going to leave this game alone because I don't know who's going to be the quarterback for Penn State this week.
Oklahoma State was 12th ranked last week. Now they are ranked 8th in the nation. They are going to be at Iowa State. Iowa State 7-point favorites in this one. Yeah, look, OK State, they're undefeated, but the margin in every single one of their games has been 11 points or less. And that is why they are winning by the skin of their teeth every single week. The issue here is that I don't know that Iowa State is for sure a touchdown better than OK State. The Cowboys have been in games decided by 10 points or less, absolute blowouts. So they don't. Iowa State, they don't trend either way as far as against the spread or the over-under, as says. My gut says you make OK State an underdog, and Mike Gundy gives those guys something to talk about in the locker room, gives them inspiration, something like that. It just seems like the line is wrong. I guess that's the thing that jumps out to me right away.
It does, but Iowa State came in ranked way better. They have a lot of pro-ready guys on this Iowa State team. They've just slipped a couple times. So I think I'm going to roll with OK State here, but I don't really like it. This is one where you see a line like this and you go, is the wrong team favored here? I don't think the wrong team's favored, but if I'm getting points for Oklahoma State, I'm going to take that, but I just don't have a ton of confidence either way.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. Oregon at UCLA. Oregon ranked 10th in the nation. UCLA, though, favored in this one, 2.5 points. The over-under is 47.
Joe, I've said on this show that I am not messing around with either one of these teams, both of them. So that's why this is in the leans instead of the likes. Look, Oregon plays up or down to their opponent every week. They're 1-4 against the spread. So I'm going to roll with UCLA here, but they are unbelievably inconsistent. I like the over in this game as both teams have explosive playmakers and both are averaging over 30 points per game. I'll take the over 47. I think that's too low for these teams, but they both have pretty solid defenses too, and unpredictability for these teams. And they play late because it's the Pac-12. I do not want to be up late depending on one of these clown teams to win me some money. So I'm going to stay away from this one. If anything, I like the over here.
Now, a broken clock is right twice a day. So let's talk about Notre Dame here, Boggs. Eventually, we got to get this right. At some point in time, Bogman's got to feel good about something when it comes to Notre Dame. Notre Dame at home, 6.5-point favorites at USC. Old fun rivalry game. USC Notre Dame goes back with a storied history going back many, many decades. 58.5 is the number. So, Bogman, I give you the floor for our final game here. Notre Dame 6.5 over USC. What say you?
I mean, why does Notre Dame have to be on TV every damn week?
Because they're Notre Dame, because of the name brand value. That's what
we got them 1 week on Peacock, right? So they weren't on nationally televised, so we didn't have to talk about them. Every other week, it's been Notre Dame. But, they vex me for sure. But they've been in 3 3-point games so far this year, and only one game decided by more than 14 points. And USC might be more confusing than Notre Dame, Joe. They're 3-3. They've won big or lost big each time. 3 wins by an average of 25.6 points, and the losses by 16 points. So I guess if you're picking this game, you just got to pick the team you like and know they're going to beat the spread. So I'm going to take Notre Dame. I think that the better team right now, USC has an interim head coach. They might have issues at quarterback because Dart is practicing, and I think Slovis might be better than him. So I'm going to roll with Notre Dame in this game, but seems like every time I put my money or my mouth, towards Notre Dame, they screw it up, which is why this is in the lean. So I'll take Notre Dame very trepidatiously.
There you have it. Make sure you go bet the other side now. Go immediately to bet USC now that he likes Notre Dame, because we know that it's money in the bank. And Bogman's done very well this year, but hey, look, everyone has their Achilles heel. Sure. For an entire season on live national television, picked the Rams wrong for, I think it was 15 straight weeks last year, including in the playoffs. So there you go. I mean,
look, sometimes there's just
now, granted, it was the Jared Goff Rams, so I do get a slight pass on that. They were very frustrating.
There's just a team that has your number. It's not even their opponents or the spread or whatever. They get you every time because you have too much or not enough confidence in them. And that seems to be Notre Dame for me this year.
Well, I have nothing but confidence in you, Boggs. And obviously, make sure you check out Bogman's work over at bettingpros.com, where you can get all the consensus lines in one place and go ahead and place your bets. Again, great content going over there over on Betting Pros, so make sure you hit that up. And look, we're week 8 so far. I mean, it's funny because I think if we took a look at where we were earlier in the season, right, and going into this year, I don't think anybody would look at this top 4 right now and thinks, that's what the 4 would be.
Yeah. Are you telling me people didn't have Cincinnati at 2 overall? That's surprising, but
I'm telling you, they did not.
It's an interesting year, but look, I think that I just really hope Cincinnati doesn't slip, because if Cincinnati
I do too. It's a good story. It's fun.
Yeah, but if Cincinnati slips, we're gonna have
chaos.
2 SEC teams, Oklahoma and Ohio State. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. And we've had that too many times. We've seen that story before. We need some new blood. So I would love to see Cincinnati in there.
All right, that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Scott Bogman, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.